Now let's dive deeper into this. Joining me is Surabh Gupta. He's a resident senior fellow at the Institute for China-America Studies here in DC. Welcome to the show. Great having you. And how do you think this back and forth around TikTok will impact the wider relationship?
The wider relationship will get caught up in the TikTok matter because at the end of the day, TikTok's recommendation algorithm is export controlled. So Donald Trump can have discussions with TikTok on what the future might hold, but it also involves the Chinese government and ByteDance. And so I think this is going to snowball into not being just a commercial issue or and it is going to become a political issue which will be necessarily had to be dealt with senior leaders in over the next three to 4 months.
So from an international relations angle, how do you analyze Trump's change of mind on this app?
Mr. Trump has changed his mind on this since he was president. I think he's been very upset with First Amendment issues, with speech issues. Of course, he is partly to blame because he's not been speaking things which are truthful, but he has a point that there has been excessive control of speech in the US by the government, and that the time has come to kind of release those restrictions on speech. And so that is where he is coming in with regard to TikTok. But he's also got a commercial bent of mind, of course, and he's trying to see if TikTok can be sold, or as he says, be in a joint venture where there is American control of the app. Now, this is going to be very hard to do, again, as I said, because the recommendation algorithm is developed in China, and that cannot change. And that is the main issue with which a national security issue, where the appeals court and the Supreme Court essentially struck it down, saying that at the end of the day, it will provide Chinese intelligence, or there's data collection, et cetera, et cetera. So it becomes very complicated in terms of how one goes forward, and we'll have to see what Mr. Trump has in mind going forward.
Surabh, in these times of transition, right, transition of power, are there other parts of the international agenda that you're following?
Oh, yeah, at this point of time, I mean, just the very fact that President Xi and President Trump had a conversation, and it seemed to be a fairly warm conversation, is immensely important. I mean, it is a consequential relationship. These are the two very important countries. Peace in the Indo-Pacific, in Asia, and well beyond is highly dependent on how these two countries can get together. So obviously, and with Mr. Trump coming in and with a very hawkish breed of Republican politicians about to take office, there are of course fears as to where U.S.-China relations would go following the kind of the rough and ready stability that we have seen over the past 18 months under Joe Biden. And so that's obviously helpful, it's useful, but I mean, let's not get it's very early in the day to be too optimistic about it. We've seen these moments of optimism during Trump 1-2, during his first term, when seemingly big things might happen and they fell through, and that in fact provided the basis then for the hawks to move forward and pass sanctions and do other hurtful things against China. So we have to keep our mind open on this.
Surabh Gupta, thank you very much. Great having you.